Hello, my name is Jane Ann Ferguson, and I am a storyteller and a spiritual director, spiritual companion here in Fort Collins, Colorado. And, excuse me, it is Christmas Eve, 2024, which is also part of the fourth week of Advent, whose theme is love. And I have just finished writing my blog. I will be posting it on my WordPress website. You can find the site in the notes for this storytelling on YouTube. And I've been pondering love, pondering the reversals and the returns of love that are prophesied in the Christmas story as it leads up to the birth of Jesus. And so that prompted me to think of this story. It's a contemporary tale. I don't know who wrote it originally. Many of my storytelling friends will be familiar with it. They will have told it themselves and even maybe heard me tell it. But it is a story that I think speaks to us at this time of year in our world this particular year. Long ago, but not too long ago, there was a beautiful monastery that was deep in the countryside, but not so deep that the village people couldn't come for Christmas Eve or Easter or a prayer service, or couldn't come and have picnics on the ground, no matter what faith they might be. It was flourishing. It emanated love all around for many years. But as life goes on, people in communities and in this monastery grow old. They die. They're lovingly buried on the grounds and remembered. And that is what happened in this monastery. And people, young people, did not come to join, to renew the numbers. And so they dwindled. They dwindled till there were just a few, maybe a handful of older monks trying to keep the place going. And it was hard. And its light, its love dwindled as well. And people stopped coming to the services, and people stopped coming to buy the jam that the monks made, and people stopped coming to picnic on the grounds. And it made the abbot, the leader of the community, very sad. It made them all very sad. But as he was the leader, he was particularly sad. One morning he was walking the monastery grounds, and he thought of something. He knew that in the forest, not too far away, there was a little hut that the rabbi of the local community used as a hermitage. And he wondered if the rabbi was at home in his hermitage. And so the abbot ventured out into the forest, and he found the hut, and he knocked on the door, and it opened, and there was the rabbi. And they were old friends. They embraced one another and were exchanged greetings, and how are you, and how is your family, and how are the brothers in the monastery. And then the abbot settled down and said to the rabbi, I've come to you with a very heavy heart. Our community has dwindled. People no longer seek us out. They don't come to even buy the jam. We don't have young people coming anymore to join us. It's very sad. I want us to still be proclaiming the love of God, but times are hard. The rabbi shook his head and he said, I know, my friend. I know what you mean. Not so many people come to the synagogue anymore for services. Do you have any advice? Said the abbot. The rabbi said, none that I can think of at the moment. All afternoon they sat together, and at times they wept about the state of their communities. And they prayed. They prayed together. Well, as the sun began to set and the abbot knew that he must make his way back to the monastery, he stood up to leave, and they embraced one another, and they promised to stay in touch. And the abbot asked his friend once more, "Are you sure? Are you sure you have no advice for our community?" Oh, with one last embrace, the rabbi said, "No, I have no advice, but I will tell you this. I will tell you that the Messiah is among you. The Messiah is one of you." And with that strange message, the abbot left his friend and made his way back to the monastery. And there that night after Compline, he gathered the small community together and he said, "I spent the day with the rabbi in the woods. And this is what he said to me. I'm going to say it once, and then I don't want you to repeat it or talk about it among yourselves. Just hear this message and ponder it in your hearts as I will do in my heart." And the abbot said to his community, "The rabbi tells me that the Messiah is among us. The Messiah is one of us." And with that, he bowed his head and he said the words that always began their evening silence. Well, as you can imagine, each one of those brothers pondered that strange message in their prayers that night, in their prayers the next day, as they were working, making jam, baking bread, taking care of the grounds, cleaning the chapel. They thought to themselves, the Messiah is among us? The Messiah is one of us? But who could it be? I mean, old Brother Theobald, he is so grumpy, though he's often wise. And Brother Thomas, he forgets things. He doesn't remember to do stuff. And yet, if you need something, he's always there to help. And they continued to think which one of the brothers it could be. And they thought, well, it must be the abbot. He's the leader. And then they'd think about the message again. The Messiah is among you. The Messiah is one of you. And they would think in their hearts, could it be me? Could it be me? I'm a good scribe. I don't feel like I'm that faithful in prayer, but I don't know. How could it possibly be me? But could it be? Well, after that, things at the monastery began to change. Each one of those monks began to treat the others with more respect, more love. They began to listen more carefully to one another, especially when they were disagreeing. especially when they had petty arguments that broke out and they disagreed about how to plant the seeds here or there or for the garden and how to decorate for Christmas or whatever it might be. They began to listen to one another and ask questions. Well, what do you mean? And why is that so important to you? Oh, I see. Oh, I see. Well, let's try it your way. Well, after several months, surprisingly, the love that was beginning to emanate from this small community in the monastery emanated out the door, through the paths, and down to the community. People began to come back. They started coming for Easter Vigil service. There were a handful of them. And they were so blessed that they told the others, and people began to come for picnics that summer. And the crowds grew. And they sold more jam, which of course they gave the money to mission and to the poor in the community. And after a long while, young people began to inquire, well, I love your life of prayer. How can I join? And the monastery ranks of brothers and sisters in a nearby convent, they began to grow. And people of all faiths were drawn to the love of that community and would just come to sit and be on the grounds. They were so peaceful. All because they took to heart the rabbi's message. My friends, the Messiah is among you. The Messiah is one of you. I invite you to take some deep breaths, sit with that story, the images, the emotions. And I invite you in this holiday season of darkness penetrated by light, season of lights that shine in darkness, in warm, fertile darkness. I invite you to sit with that message. The Messiah is among you. The Messiah, the Anointed One, the Savior One, the one who brings love and peace, is among you, is one of you. Blessings in this holiday season for you and all those you hold dear.